All right, let's take a look at what we did last time. You can see here that we built a very basic kind of character shape. If you have character modeling skills, then you might want to take this a step further. But for now, very basic. We're just learning how to sort of bring assets into Unreal and how to bring animations and create everything from scratch. All right, so let's begin by creating a armature, which is essentially the skeleton in which this character is going to be animated by, or we're going to use the skeleton to move this character around. All right, so you can go up to, I believe, add armature here, or you can hold shift and press A, and then you can select armature here. And you can see there's a joint there. Now, in order to add additional joints, you have to hit tab and go to edit mode. And here you can now go in, and as you select certain parts of it, you can add joints, or we can move it around and place it where we want it to be. All right, so let's go into wireframe just so we can see this a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is hit S to scale this down. Now notice I didn't click here to scale it down. I clicked in the center here to scale it down. Then I'm going to press G, and then I'm going to press Z to move it up and just place it somewhere in the middle where his pelvis is. This is going to serve as the root. Now I want to keep it on that same axis. I just want to shift it forward. Generally, when you're rigging, you want to make sure that everything falls directly in the center of our character. So notice there's the y-axis runs this way. So I'm going to press G to move, and then Y, and I'm going to shift that forward like that. All right. Now remember what I told you before, you can create extra joints. For example, the hip, the ankle, and the foot and stuff like that in edit mode. So let's do that now. All right, so I'm going to hit the tilde key and go to my front view. And I'm going to select this little ball here. And if I press the G key, notice I can move it around. I'm going to press Z to move it up on the Z axis. And I'm just going to place it somewhere in between these two shoulders. And then I'm going to press E to extrude. And I'm going to go to the base of the neck. And I'm going to press E again. And I'm going to go to the center of the head, something like this. And then one more on top here. Actually, let me undo that last one. I'm going to press E to extrude and then Z, and I'll place it just in the center there, and then E and then Z again. Remember, Z is locking it in place. All right. Let's go back to our front view. I'm just sort of looking at always kind of checking that it's somewhat close to the center there. All right, select your root, and then press E, and then on the x-axis, move it off to the side, and then E again, and then what we want to do is go down on the z-axis to the knee. Again, E and Z to the ankle. Now the foot here is a little off, so I'm going to hit tab, go back to object mode, select this foot, and then right click, or actually tab and go to edit mode. And let's go to our smooth shaded here. And actually the foot is lined up, but this ankle is a little off. Actually, you know what? Let's just move the foot. So go ahead and in edit mode, what I'm going to do is, come on, edit mode. Looks like it's not fully selecting. There we go. So tab, edit mode. There we go. And I'm going to press L to select the foot. And I'm going to line up the y-axis on that just on that front line. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. See, I have my arrow here. I'm just lining it up this way. So let's go to object mode, select this leg, hit tab, go to edit mode. I'm pressing L like Larry. And then I'm just going to shift it over a little bit so it lines up here. Ordinarily, we would just like remirror it, but I think for now that's good. I think these could also be shifted over a little bit. Let's hit L to make sure it's fully selected. Let me undo that a couple times. There we go. All right, I'm going to go to object mode. I'm just going to do that on the other side. All right, let's go back here. Looks a little bit better. The legs look a little better that way. All right, so let's select our joint here. Let's tab, go to edit mode. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna place these a little bit more forward. So hit G again and then press Y. I'm gonna shift that knee forward a little bit and then I'm gonna position this ankle where into the center of the ankle like that. All right, let's go ahead and start to work on extruding out this foot. So I'm gonna hit tilde and let's go to left view. Let's go to the right view rather. All right, let's go ahead and extrude this out. And, ideally we want to, well, let's go ahead and do it anyway. I was gonna say we could just make one joint across because we're not really gonna have a lot of toe movement with something like this, but we can add some extra subdivisions later, like for example, to the legs and stuff to just have it deform a little bit better. All right, let's go to our front view. All right, let's select this little area here. We're gonna create a collarbone and then a spot for the shoulder, elbow, and then wrist, and then tip of the hand. And let's go ahead and reposition these. Oops. So let's grab our move tool actually, and just so we can see it a little bit better. Again, just trying to look for the center here. Another trick that we can do is we can go to visibility here under our settings here and select in front, and that allows us to see our joints in front. So if you prefer to have this mesh view, you could do it that way. All right, looks pretty good. All right, let's do some naming so we can mirror this. So the trick is anything that you want to mirror across. So this would be, let's go down here to rename this. So you can see the whole thing is called an armature, but this bone under this last option is called bone 09. So I can call this clav dot L. See, clav. I'm gonna do this all lowercase dot L. I'm just gonna highlight this dot L because it's gonna be repetitive. And then this would be shoulder dot L. Upper arm dot L. Forearm dot L. Hand dot L. This is, let's see, hip dot L. And this would be thigh dot L. Shin dot L. Foot dot L, and you probably guessed it, toe dot L. All right. All right, so if we press the A key to select everything, we can go to armature here and hit symmetrize. Or if you press F3 on the keyboard, you can see it gives you a lot of these different search options, and you can search for symmetrize. And you can see everything that we named .L, it mirrored it across and it changed it to a .R. So now we have this, this joint thing. Well, how do we actually connect it to the mesh so that we can start to animate? Well, there's a few other steps like creating things called pull vectors and Nike handles. But first we need to attach the skeleton to this mesh. Okay, so hit tab and go to object mode and select your armature first and then hold shift and select your mesh. And if you press P, I think it's P, or is it all P? Let's see. Oh, you know what? It might be your mesh and then this. Yeah, and then it's Control P. Yeah, and here we go. Armature deform with empty groups, with envelope weights, with automatic weights. So what I'm doing is, the reason we parse these out is it makes skinning easier when you have just one section with the, like each section skinned to an individual group of bones. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hold shift and select my armature, hit Control P, and then I'm going to do with automatic weights. Now what I can do is let's select this hip and hit, or the armature rather, hit tab and go to pose mode. And now when I select this and I hit R, you can see as I rotate this is skinned. Interestingly enough, I wonder why this did not move. Let me hit tab object mode. I wonder why this was not weighted. Let's undo that a couple of times back. I wonder if there's just not enough geometry there. Let's undo a couple more until we're, yeah, so here's our left leg. Actually, you know, let's try holding shift and selecting all of the mesh first, and then holding shift and selecting this and hitting control P and then doing it with automatic weights. Let's see if maybe that's the issue. I have a sinking feeling that there's a little confusion. Like this is being moved by, let's see. Yeah, so it's actually not synced to that leg. So let's go ahead and undo this for a second. Let's go to object mode. I'm going to go back till there's nothing underneath the armature here. All right. Actually, let's see if maybe I can't go back that far. Okay. There's also a thing where you go to edit. We can also adjust the number of undo, so you can see undo history here. If you go to preferences, I believe it's under interface. And actually, I think it's under system. Yeah, so you can change the undo history to whatever you want, 1024. You know, I guess 256 is the highest. Let's see. I know in some programs you have unlimited. All right, let's try this again. Let's tab back to object mode. And let's select the leg, or the armature rather. Let's do control P. We'll do with envelope weights. Let's see if that gives us a better result. All right, now let's select this and do pose mode. Select that and hit R. There we go. Now what we can do to adjust the weighting is if we hit tab, go to object mode, and we select our leg here, our mesh, you can hit tab and you can see you have these different objects. And one is called weight paint. So if you select weight paint here, what we can do is we can look at these individual joints. Here you can see there's toe R, foot R, and we're actually looking for the L. So here's foot L, and you can see foot L is essentially controlling this section here. But we want it to control essentially all of the vertices that make up that foot. You know what I mean? So the best way to do that is, as I'm clicking on these vertexes, which are these points, they'll turn a bright red. And now it shouldn't, in theory, leave those verts behind, because now it's being controlled 100% by this foot. Just kind of going in here. Remember, foot L is this joint here. So I'm going to tab, go to object mode, select this, hit tab. And this, I mean, I'm selecting the joints. Tab, and then I'm going to go to pose mode. I'm going to hit R, and now you can see it's moving. What I'd like to do, again, so this little vertex here is from this foot. So what I can do is tab, go to object mode, select this, and then I'll just go to weight paint by hitting tab again. And for the toe L, I'll just click on that. There we go. And I'll just really kind of go in here, and the redder you make it, the more it's controlled by that area. So I'm going to go up to foot L, and then I'm going to go to shin L. That looks pretty good. Thigh, not too bad. Hip. And again, we're not necessarily going for perfection on this, because we're just trying to make a generic model. Let's see if we can adjust that rotation here. Oops. If we zero this out. See, what value is this one at? 1? Okay, let's change this to 1. And then what value were these? 0, 0, 0. Let's see if we get 0. Does not want to accept zeros here. There we go. So a good way of testing it, let's go ahead and test this one out. So I'm going to hit R and hit to rotate that. Oh, you know what? We never skinned that. We've only skinned this leg. All right, let's go to object mode. Let's skin this leg. So holding shift and selecting the mesh first and then control P. Let's do with envelope weights. Select the torso, then select this, hit control P. All right. Just going through. And then lastly, the head. All right. Let's select the joints and then let's go to pose mode and let's test this out. So I'm going to hit R here. Same problem as the other one, so not a big deal. And really we could check. I'm going to hit R here. That's actually not too bad. I'll undo that. So let's go ahead and hit tab, go to object mode, select the mesh, hit tab again, go to weight paint. And I want these verts weighted to the toe L, or the right toe. So just going to get a little bit closer here, and then I'm going to go up to foot, select that, and I think that's good. So tab back to pose mode or object mode, select the joints, tab, pose mode, and then select that hip. And inside of my, you see I have my item sections here. Let's just make sure that these are all 0. So it goes back to where it's supposed to. And I'm not exactly sure why this came off. All right, this really just needs to serve as sort of this rotation area. So we're going to leave that for now. And we're going to go through this arm. And we're going to play with the weighting of this because it looks like there's a lot of confusion on what should be controlled by what. So I'm going to tab, go to object mode, select this arm here. And tab, go to weight paint. And then just like before, and if you got a pretty good idea on this, you don't necessarily have to watch the whole video, but it might be a good idea. So just going through, making sure. Now, if you want to adjust the size of your cursor, you can press, I believe it's O. Let's see. I mean, here's our cursor here, but let's see. Here's our radius. I know we can adjust it here, but forget the hotkey for that. I'm always going between different applications. So here's our hand. Just weighting the wrist a little bit that way because I want the forearm as it bends to control a little bit of that. Making sure this is controlled 100%. Let's go up to the upper arm here. Weighting this stuff up a little bit here. And it's good to do like a test animation. So what I mean by that is I usually tab, go to object mode, select the joints, tab pose mode. And then down here, you can see we have our little timeline here. I can turn on this auto key feature. And if you press S, I believe it's actually, you can right click. Let's see, where's our key? Actually, I think it's R. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you can set a keyframe. Let's make sure we're on the timeline. R keyframe. And actually, I think we're just not seeing our keyframe. So we have to expand this. And we're also, let's see, are we in pose mode? Yeah. Let's see, if we hit R and move this, because we're in auto key, it should set a key. There we go. So we just had to set that initial key. So something like that is good. And so here's our initial key. I'll undo that. So just kind of zero this out. And then we'll go like 20 frames over, hit R and just move this up. Let's do the same thing for this one. Maybe we'll go 20, hit R. Should set a key from the beginning. Let's zero this out. I guess it didn't. And now when we move this up, we have our hand. And this is helpful because now we can select the torso, go to pose, weight paint mode. And then in here, I can just select, let's see, that center joint, or that, let's see, where's that at? One of these. Yeah, I think this is the big one, the bone. And we should really go in and rename it, but I'm just gonna weight all of this to the center of my robot here. All right, and then you're just going through here, selecting different parts. You know, like this hand here is still having some issues, and that's my right hand. And I'm just gonna go to, I keep forgetting because I have it as separate, and then I just finished doing the Maya video, and I think I did it as separate pieces too, but it's just a different process. So let's go to weight paint on this arm, and then find that hand.r. So you pretty much get the idea of what I'm doing here. So I think that's good. Let's go to pose mode. Maybe read this up a little bit. Maybe we'll rotate the head. Looks like this all needs to be weighted to the head. I might just name this, let's go to edit mode here. I'm gonna name this joint neck or head. Yeah, we'll just name this head because we have a neck. And I think I'm just gonna weight this entire mesh here to that bone. So I'm gonna weight paint this, and then I'm gonna go into here. Let's see if we can just find the head joint. I'm just gonna weight this all to the head, make it a little bit easier. And then we'll have that center point there if we ever decide to expand this model to make eyes or something. So let's go back to object mode, select the armature, go to pose mode. And now if I press R, it should rotate. And at this point, let's test this out a little bit too. Let's rotate it. Let's rotate it down, move it forward. I think that's good enough for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and press A to select all, and then I'm gonna highlight all. I'm gonna move back to 0, highlight all of these keys, and then just press delete to get rid of them. Go back to object mode. So I know that was a little bit longer of a tutorial. There are other tutorials on the internet. I also have some where I actually created a Gumball monster character. But for now, this is pretty good generic setup for a character. In the next video, we'll take a look at further building out this rig with some IK handles and pull vectors.